Hey friends, it's Kristen here with Christians Do Yoga, and I'm so excited to offer you this 10 days of holy yoga. So each day we're going to spend about 10 minutes together working on different practices and different types of yoga just to build a consistent habit of moving your body and practicing breath work and even just some meditation. So I want to start with day one, and I want to remind you that it's not about the yoga. Right, so this Holy Yoga Challenge is not even about the yoga. Of course, we are going to practice some asanas, so some postures to strengthen our body and stretch our bodies, but it's really about taking time each day to just be still and to really connect with your Creator. So I want you to go ahead and find a seat on your mat, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. So go ahead and close your eyes for me, if you will, and find a nice tall spine, and just roll those shoulders back and down away from your ears. Again, your eyes can be closed or they can just be focused on the ground in front of you, and just find this really just a really still posture. Luke 10 verse 27 says, "You shall love the Lord, the Eternal One, your God, with everything that you have, all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, and all your mind. And love your neighbor as yourself." This is one of the most foundational scriptures that a lot of us teachers who teach holy yoga practice, because it just really embodies holy yoga. It's not just about our strength, it's part of it, but it's also about nourishing our mind and our hearts, connecting with Jesus on our mat. And so that's what we're gonna really focus on today. And as you're sitting here just nice and still, I want you just to think about what it means to love with everything you have. And I also want to focus on the end of the text where it says, love others, love your neighbor as yourself. So taking this time on your mat for the next 10 days, just learning to love yourself, because as you show love to yourself and you receive love from the Lord, you're going to be a better giver of love to your neighbors, to others. So when you're ready, go ahead and find your way into child's pose, and we're gonna start moving through a very basic sequence called Sun Salutation. So now that you're in child's pose, just reach those fingertips towards the front of your mat, and then reach the hips towards the back of your mat, laying them or resting them on your heels. Your knees can be spread wide, or they can be together with your chest resting on your knees. Good, so this is always your safe pose. If you ever want to pause the video and come back to this posture just to rest or to receive or recalibrate, just find yourself here at any time. So when you're ready, we're gonna move into one of the most foundational postures, downward facing dog. So plant those hands into your mat with fingertips spread wide, shift the hips forward, and then lift the hips up off your mat. So your knees can be bent or they can be straightened here, depending on where you're at in your practice and in your day. They may just stay bent for now, but let's work towards a long, straight spine. So your hips are high, so even if your heels aren't flat on the mat, your hips are high, knees are bent or not, and then pressing your chest towards your thighs. Ears are between your biceps, and remembering that this is a low body posture. So if you feel like you're putting a lot of weight in your wrist, just start to sink the weight towards your heels. You can even walk those hands in a little bit and lift the hips even higher. So you're kind of like an upside down V. Just noticing the sensations here, maybe the opening in the back side of your body, on your legs and in your shoulders. Take one more breath here, and then walk or step those feet up to meet the hands and fold forward. Again, in your forward fold, those knees can be bent or they can be straightened. And when you're in your forward fold, you want to put more of your weight towards the forefront of your foot. So you're not clenching with your toes and lifting your heels, but you're also not sinking your weight back in your heels so that your hips go too far back. So just finding that balance here. And fold, letting go. Maybe you shake your head, yes and no. Releasing all of the tension from your neck. Good, so from here, we're gonna plant those hands on our shins and do a standing tabletop by lifting halfway, and try to get your tailbone as far away from your crown as you can. So with those hands on your shins, maybe they're still on the floor, depending again where you're at in your day or in your practice. The idea here is to have a flat back, so if those knees need to be bent, go ahead and bend them. Looking forward, big breath in. And then fold deeper as you exhale, letting go. Back into your forward fold. Nice job. Sink those hips down just a little bit and then sweep those hands all the way overhead, coming into a standing position. Mountain pose, good. Bring those hands to your heart. And then just take a second to set up your standing pose, your mountain pose. Notice your feet, maybe lift the toes. You're gonna have happy toes here, so you can lift those toes and everything that's left on your mat. That's the four corners of your feet. You'll hear me refer to this often. So really pressing through the four corners of those feet, and then engage the quads by lifting the kneecap. And then moving up towards your hips, go ahead and tuck your tailbone under as if you're taking your belly button and your pants button, squeezing them together so it's nice and tucked here in the back. Good, still breathing, and maybe your eyes are open, maybe they're closed, just so you can feel these sensations. And then knit your ribs together. Sometimes I like to expand my ribs here in my standing posture, but just bring it all back in, just really engaging that core. Good, and then roll the shoulders back and down to open the chest. And then maybe you lift your chin a little bit and then draw it back over your shoulders so that your ears are over your shoulders. Good, take one more breath here. And then sweep those hands all the way overhead, big breath in. So plant those palms together, and with a flat back, dive forward over those knees, just like that standing tabletop. And then once you reach your knees, go ahead and start to fold into your forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway. And then exhale, fold. Plant the hands. You can step or float back into your plank position. So here in plank, your wrists are right under your shoulders, and like you're gonna do a push-up here, and your feet can be a few inches apart. Really rotate those thighs towards each other, and then engage your belly button to your spine and knit your ribs together. And hold here, making sure you're breathing. Option to always come to the knees here, just to, as you build up your strength. Good, so with your elbows right next to your ribs, the tendency is gonna wanna to kind of push them out, but we wanna keep them right next to our ribs and shoot them towards the back of our mat. So our elbows are pointed back and up. Good, coming all the way down to your mat, and then press up for your back bend, baby cobra. Tuck the toes, lift the hips, and lift the ribs as you find your way back into downward facing dog, where we started. So that's a full sun salutation. We're gonna go through it once or twice more together, and then you have the option to practice this on your own. Good, step those feet up to meet your hands, lift halfway as you breathe in. Exhale, fold. Good, sink those hips down a little bit, and then lift all the way to the top. Palms together, and then at your heart. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, dive forward. Good, inhale, lift halfway with a flat back. Exhale, plant those hands and step back into your plank. Knees up or down, totally up to you. Lower down, slow and controlled. And then press back up. Maybe you leave the thighs on the ground. Maybe you lift the thighs for upward facing dog. Making sure you flip those feet. Good, so tuck the toes and then lift the hips back into downward facing dog. So take a breath here. Option to come into child's pose. We're gonna do one more together. These are amazing to practice in the morning. That's why they're called Sun Salutations, to warm up your body. And the idea is to get to the point where you can move one breath to one movement, but it is a practice. Good, so go ahead and step those feet up to meet your hands whenever you're ready. Lifting halfway with the flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lift all the way to the top, standing pose. Exhale, going right back into your swan dive or bow, folding forward. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, plant those hands, step those feet back, and then lower all the way down. Or you can barely brush the ground before you come into your Cobra or your up dog. Downward facing dog. Nice job, you guys. Go ahead and drop those knees and find your way into child's pose. And just breathe. You can stay here in your child's pose for as long as feels great for you, or you can run through that flow a few more times to really build some heat and open up the body and clear the mind. So I'm glad that you joined me for day 1 of this Holy Yoga Challenge. Tomorrow we're gonna experience a good morning flow, so we'll add on to this a little bit just to give you something to do in the mornings before you start your day. So I will see you back here tomorrow.
So you've rolled up your mat and you've taken care of your body, but are you taking care of your mind and your heart? In a season where I found myself completely overwhelmed and anxious with day-to-day life, I recognized that something was missing. And that something was daily routine and self-care and love. So over the next few months, I began to build new habits, a new routine, and some consistency that really brought life back into my heart, into my mind, and into my body. And I want to share that with you. Head on over to dailysoulcare.com and grab your free copy today.